The 0-2 pitch, swing and a miss, struck him out. The Philadelphia Phillies are 2008 World Champions of Baseball.
Good evening, everybody. Welcome back to another episode of the Phixated podcast. I am your very well-rested host, Mike Gasolina, and I'm joined tonight by my gracious, as always, friend, Regzy Boo. We're back a day later than we said we'd be back, but we're back.
Listen, sometimes you just got to sleep.
I needed to sleep. Regs, I think... So on Sunday morning, I had a 5 a.m. flight. So I was, up at 3:30, and then I had a 5:30 flight on Thursday morning. So I was up at like 4. And when you travel, you don't, I don't typically sleep super well. So I got back yesterday. I worked for a little bit at a meeting, ate dinner, and then sort of just like sat on the couch and fell asleep at 7 o'clock. Texted you at 9:30 and asked if we could do this tomorrow. You said yes. I went up to bed. I slept till 8 today.
Good for you.
So
that's
that
right.
was
Good for you.
Solid almost 13 hours of sleep that I got.
I'm not even sure when. But I think I have to be sick to get that kind of sleep around my house.
Yeah. Well, I mean, this normally coming home from Kansas, I don't sleep like that, but I usually take like a nighttime flight to get back. So I'm back here by 10 o'clock. I go right to bed. Like, I'm usually pretty good, but unfortunately this time I couldn't make that happen. So here I am, very well rested.
There you are, ready to go.
We got minor Sixers talk, some Eagles stuff, and full mailbag on the Phillies. We got like 8 questions tonight, brought to you by the viewers themselves.
That's right.
One who decided to be an anonymous jerk. The other 7, not so much. But before we do that, Regs, have you ever had like that good Samaritan moment that like you thought was going to define like your day or week or month or even, year in a really positive way, only for it to go completely sideways?
No, I don't think I have. I don't think I've had that exact scenario, but pray tell.
So last weekend, I don't know where Andrea was. I can't. I think she was like with her sister. It was Saturday, and I was taking Maverick for one of our long walks. We were in our development, and I was walking. We were walking on the sidewalk, and oddly, Maverick like drugged me across the street. He usually walks on the one side, but really wanted to be on the other side this time. I thank Maverick for all this. And we walk up on like this card, and I look down and I was like, oh man, that's someone's credit card. You can't leave that sitting on the sidewalk. You're going to get someone who's not as nice as me. So I knocked on a couple of doors on that road. Everybody was like, nope, that's not mine. Sorry. So I call my brother-in-law, who is a cop, and long story short, helps me find an address for where it belongs or who it belongs to. And it's in our development. Like, I know the exact house. Ironically, Andrea and I looked at this house when we were looking to buy. So I finish, as I finish my Maverick walk, I go back to the house. I actually write a note just in case I get there and they're not home, for them to like call me or text me. So I'll keep the card till they get back, right? The whole plan. Even like what I'm going to say when I get to the door to give it to this woman who's probably freaking out. But I think, Regs, when I walked up there all proud of myself, like, I'm strutting to the house, and I get up to the door, and their storm door is the only door closed. Like, their door is open. It was a beautiful day, if you think back to last Saturday. So I ring the doorbell, and a little kid comes to the door. And I'm like, hey, buddy, is your mom home? Freaking creepy, right? And a gentleman about a little older than us walks forward, and he's like, "Can I help you?" Doesn't open the door, and I hold the card out. Wrong move, Mike. And I say, "Is so and so? Does she live here?" And he said, "Yeah, that's my wife." And Regz, I don't know what happened after that. Like I pretty much black out after that because what normally I like you should say is, "Awesome, man. Like so happy to hear that she lives here. I found her credit card. I wanted to make sure it got back to the right place. So my brother-in-law's like, all these things that I should have said. Nope, none of those things came out. I think what I said was I was walking my dog and I found this on the sidewalk, so I brought it back to you. So like this guy is looking at me super strangely, shakes my hand, says thank you, and closes the door, walks away. That was it. Like nothing, like what's your name? Like nothing, right? What he's probably thinking is a couple of things. How's this asshole know where I live?
Yep.
One, right? Two, how did he end up with my wife's credit card? Right? Three, is this dude like, is he sneaking around behind my back with my wife? Because all I said was I was walking my dog. I don't have a dog with me.
Right.
This guy has no idea how I know it's the house. So he's probably telling himself the story that I've been there a couple of times. I might have just caused a divorce in my development, actually, Regz, is what might have happened there. Andrea
what were you
has walked
planning on saying?
Well, I planned on her answering the door.
Yeah.
I planned on her being there.
Mhm.
I planned on like her being the one that was going to come to the door, and I was going to go through the whole thing.
Right.
I was walking my dog. I found your card. I knocked on a couple of doors, couldn't find it. Called my brother-in-law, who's a police officer. He helped me find where you live. Like all these things. But when this dude came to the door, it totally threw me. I don't know why. I talk to people all of the time. Strangers all of the time. My job is talking to strangers. And for some reason, I couldn't function in conversation. So
I love that the kid came to the door first.
And that might have thrown me even more because the question I asked was, is your mom home?
Right. Right.
Right. So the guy probably heard that.
Right.
And he came like charging down the hallway.
Of course.
So I think I just got panicked, Regz. I panicked and I didn't. And like, again, for somebody who's like good with people,
I'd say so.
This was an atrocity. It was an atrocity. Because like what I should have said to him was, hey, man, my name's Mike. I live in the neighborhood.
Yeah.
My wife and I live on such and such road, right? Like, I was walking my dog today. I found this card, called my brother-in-law. He's a police officer. He helped me find where you guys live. Just wanted to bring it back to you. So like, I knew it got back to, but he looked confused. He couldn't understand why his wife's card was on the sidewalk, which makes sense. Like, and even if he's not thinking, oh, this guy is with my wife, he's probably wondering like what jabroni is. If if the card was
what house is it in front of, all those things,
which is not my fault. That's not my fault.
Right.
But the rest of it is. So I don't know, man. I feel like I want a do-over.
Need that a rewind button.
Yeah. I wish this was Click with Adam Sandler.
Yeah, right.
Go back and just replay that moment and just do a better job explaining it and I think it would have been better if I just would have handed him the freaking note and walked away that I had pre-written.
Or just acted like one of those deaf people. You just hand him the note and you just stand there and you hold the card out and just be like, there you go.
Do you remember when we were in Philly? Were you in Philly for the Phillies game when a guy handed me a card?
Yes.
That was like, if you take this, you have to give me $20.
Yes.
Did I give him money?
I don't think so.
Okay. I don't think I did either. You guys didn't let me live that down for like 2 months.
Because I think you got sucked in for too long. I think you were about to give him money, and all of us were just like, "What are you doing? Like, this is a scam."
I actually think Josh came over and like
Yeah,
walked me away.
yeah,
Yeah, I think I got way too far into it.
yep.
Yeah, well, this makes sense. This all lines up. What a bad job. Next time I'm leaving the card on the ground.
The funny that you're gonna have to tell us the story when his wife brings the husband to your front door and says, "You need to tell him that nothing is happening between us."
So like they don't know me.
That's what I mean, exactly.
Thing. So they'd have to like figure out who I am, and so I don't. So I used to walk Maverick by their house. Now I go a totally different way. And Andrea walked by the house the other night and came back and said, "I just want you to know all is well. The kids were playing outside and they were out there." And I was like, "Yeah, that doesn't mean that under all of that cover is a lot of anger and rage that I brought the credit card back with the explanation of a 3-year-old." Find your words, Mike. Find your words.
Nicely done.
Thank you. All right, you want to talk sports?
Yeah, sure. Unless you got any more good stories.
I mean, I've got many. I've got so many. I had stuff happen on the road this week. Regz, I had a woman on the plane on my way there. Who and I'm minding my own business, by the way. I'm just reading Harry Potter, minding my own business. I want nothing to do with anyone when I get on a plane. So I was sitting in the window, at the window, and then there was like a, 7-year-old, like a toddler sitting in the middle, and his mom sitting in the aisle. And he was having a little bit of a tantrum. He was having an issue, and she was like, "Stop, you're making the man mad. You're making the man mad. He's very mad." And like without even trying, minding my own business and reading Harry Potter and the Prisoner of Azkaban, I became the villain in this kid's day.
See, I completely sympathize. I blame other people all the time.
Oh, don't do that, Regz.
It's not a blame. It's that your kids don't care that you're upset, so you have to put it on someone they don't know.
That's fine.
Like it's not blaming the other person is not to blame. The other person is being used as like a projection of
as the villain.
No, not a villain. No. As it's a source of empathy you're supposed to be.
Gotcha.
You know what I mean? Like they don't care what the parents are feeling. If you say like you're making me upset, they're just like screw you guys. Okay. But if you put it on someone they don't know, they're like, "Well, I don't know that person."
All right. Well, I was feeling very much like the villain in this kid's day.
No, you were trying to be the source of. She was trying to make you the source of empathy for that child.
But I have like growled at the kid or something.
You should have given him a look. He would have stopped in an instant, and that mother would have loved you.
I didn't do that.
See, if you had looked at him and then looked at the mom and just given her like a nod, she would have talked about you the next day.
Well, she didn't do that because I just kept my head in the book.
0 for 2. 0 for 2 situations.
Not great work by me.
I'll give you the plain one. I'll give you a pass. That's a weird spot to be in with no explanation.
And very tired, by the way.
Well, yeah, sure.
Very tired. So, all right. Well, let's do something that I'm actually good at. Let's talk about sports because apparently interacting with humans is no longer something that goes in the strength pile, and I should just never do it again. I'll just stay in the basement. We're not gonna spend time on the Sixers here. They won tonight, yay. They're still in that 5 spot, kind of floating in that 5-6 range. 5 would be a really good spot for them actually. Because they'd avoid pretty much a Celtics matchup, essentially. I think until the Eastern Conference Final, which would be fine.
Yep.
Toby had 31 tonight, so that's good.
Cool.
Let's see if he can do it a little more consistently. Being like knowing that there were years where I was like, all right, hard to do every night. Like if a guy's not playing, to get yourself like, oh, Joe's not playing tonight, you gotta be a second option. That's tough. But you've consistently been bad knowing you're the guy right now outside of Maxey, who doesn't want to be the guy.
Yeah.
So I'm frustrated by that. But he had 31 tonight, helped him to a win. And like we've said, they just got to stay of course and stay in that 4, 5, 6 range until Joel returns. And speaking of him, he's supposed to be reevaluated early next week. So we should have some news on that. Riggs, I think we both know that they're going to keep him sidelined until about 2 weeks before playoffs.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think that's changing. He was asked though today, or yesterday, why rush back? And he said, because I love the game and I only get to do this for like a certain amount of time. Like I only get to play basketball for like 20 years. And he's right. He's about 10, 11 years into that journey, including college. Right. So yeah, I like that attitude. I think it's very true about Joe. He loves playing. You can see the joy on his face whenever he plays. So yeah, we'll see. I mean, we're not spending a ton of time here, but anything that you want to add Sixers wise before we jump over to the Birds?
I mean, it's they needed 31 from Toby to beat the Hornets, who are a terrible basketball team.
Yeah.
Like that's just where this team is at. There's nothing really to talk about until
the
he
offense
gets back.
the offense is garbage without him.
Yeah.
We'll just keep updating.
Right.
And that's it. We're not gonna dive in. And that sucks because we really thought this year was going to be something else. I actually saw a chart tonight that was like overall efficiency or something like that. And with Joel, they're far and away the most efficient team offensively and defensively in the two combined. Far and away with Joel. And without him, they're just freaking dog crap, man. They're dog water without him. They're on the polar opposite end of like it's like one of those axes things. And with Joel, they're in the far upper right, and without Joel, they're in far bottom left.
Yeah.
Crazy. I don't think you could find a team where you take one single player away and there's this much of a downfall. I mean, maybe I don't know. I guess I don't watch enough of the other teams. But it feels like so much of what they do goes through him. So, okay, Eagles. Not a ton here tonight. A rumor that was dropped, and we are rumor time. The combine is a time where teams talk to each other about potential deals. They talk to each other. They talk to agents about players on the market.
Mm-hmm.
Lay the groundwork for what's coming in the next couple of weeks with free agency. And right before you hit record, right before you started the recording tonight, you said that was it Elliott Shore Parks?
Yeah.
Tweeted something about there was real noise.
Yeah, he retweeted something from let me get the credit correct, from Chad Forbes.
Oh, okay. Oh, that's a pretty dependable source, Chad Forbes.
He retweeted it with like the
Can you
eyeball.
just say what it is?
Chad Forbes literally just said Justin Simmons to Eagles has some buzz.
Yeah. And you know what? One of the things that I thought about as we were waiting to start recording, as the song was playing, was I think pretty much any safety that's worth their weight is going to be tied to the Eagles until they bring in their safety. I'm really wondering how weight this holds. They just cut a guy at that age today to get cap space. They got about 13 million in cap space. That brought him to about 44, 45, 46. No one really knows the exact number. But Byard is about that age. And he was not very good.
Yeah.
Now Simmons is an unbelievable talent. But there are a lot of young guys that are floating around in free agency.
Yeah. That's my point. I just think this team on defense has to get younger, especially in the secondary. Like it just has to.
Yeah.
You see all the best defenses are not full of a bunch of 30-year-old secondary players. They're just not. Like they're just not. You have to either get it through the draft and develop someone, or when guys become available and maybe their first free agent, maybe even second, maybe when they're 27, like you got to scoop them up then. You want them to be playing when they're 27 to 30. Like you don't want to be signed, even if they're the most talented guy. Like that 30 drop off can happen at any time. Like we saw it. Like we saw it happen with our own eyes this year.
Yeah.
With Bradbury. And like it's not just a little drop. It's an enormous drop off.
Yeah. I'm concerned about bringing over a guy who has 3 years left on his deal at that age, at that position, when there are guys in the market that I think are very talented and younger.
Yeah.
And there's a heavy part of me believes that they're going to sign two safeties, and one as more of that veteran, that 30-year-old veteran that can just be there, sort of like the Justin Evans signing last year, like a guy that you're hoping you don't have to depend a lot on, but can get, can be there in case, can teach your guys a little bit about that defense, that setup, whatever it may be. But I've got my eyes on a guy like Cam Curl, who is played for the Commanders, is in his mid-20s. By all counts, is a smart player, which you need to be to play in Fangio's defense. Talented player, played really well against the Eagles both times this year. So that's the type of player that I'm looking for. This is not a deep or very talented safety class in the draft. So, this is where you want to spend a little bit more of your money. I don't know. The Justin Simmons thing just throws me. I'll tell you another rumor I heard today that I didn't love. It was that the Cowboys are one of the teams that are very interested in acquiring Reddick. Clearly the Eagles would love to avoid that, Regs. I don't think that's something that they would love to do. And if it came down to the Cowboys offering a second-round pick, let me ask you, if the Cowboys offer their second-round pick and maybe a future fourth, okay, for Hassan Reddick, your other option is you bring him back for the year and you get an unhappy Hassan. What do you do?
Give me the unhappy Hassan Reddick, who isn't playing for my rival in the division.
That second round pick that's super tempting though.
Yeah, I'm good. Thanks.
That's super tempting. So I that one I don't love it, but there's probably a laundry list of teams. Now again, we've talked about this before, and before we jump into the Howie and Nick stuff, he's got to want to go there, and they've got to want to compensate.
Right.
So.
And you would imagine re-sign him.
Well, that comes as part of it.
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah. And some of it would be that the Eagles would restructure it to trade him at a better number for them. So, yeah, we'll see there. I'm not sure what's going to happen, but I will tell you that during the press conference at the combine this week, I didn't get the sense from Howie's answers that he's coming back. I don't, he doesn't have much of a tell, but it wasn't like, oh, we'd love for Hassan to be here for the rest of his career type of answer. It was, Hassan's a great player and we'll see what happens type of answer. So my guess is the writing is on the wall. I've said it before on the show. I'll say it again. If it were me, if I were running that team, I would get in a room with the agent and be like, what do we got to do to get this done? Let's get this done. That's how much I think of Hassan Reddick. So I don't think that's what's happening though.
Yeah, I'm more on the side of, for right now, I'm on the side of I'm not sure who pays him what he's looking for. And is also willing to compensate the Eagles how they would want to be compensated for losing him. So I'm just not sure what team out there, who exists out there that's willing to do that. And I also am kind of on the side of I really think Hassan would like to stay here. Like, he's literally from Camden. Like, he went to Temple. Like, this guy is from Philadelphia. Like, he is. So I don't think there's a strong desire. Like, I get it. You always have you have a desire to get paid as much money as you can make, which is perfectly fine. I just, in listening to a lot of pods and things like that, it just doesn't seem like a lot of people are super confident that somebody's out there that's going to be willing to pay what he's looking for and also be willing to compensate the Eagles to lose him.
Yeah.
Like, it just, I don't know what team that is. So until that changes, that's kind of my thought process around it. And hopefully if he goes out there and sees like what teams are willing to pay him, maybe the Eagles can start it there and then negotiate and figure out, something that's going to make him happy. I don't know. How long do you even think? 2 years? Like 2 years?
Yeah, it's like 2-3 years. Yeah. I mean, again, like as an edge, that's not going to get much more than that. I mean, it's and some of it could be like dummy years that he's getting paid not to be there anymore.
Yeah.
Which is what I mean. Basically, the Eagles are paying Lane Johnson until like 2030.
Right.
So you could do something like that, just to spread out the cap number as far as you can get it. So, yeah, we'll see. I again, like Howie's press conference just made me feel like this might not happen. Speaking of that, let's lean in a little bit. Howie and Nick both met with the media this week, leading into the combine, and the combine interviews are interesting because it's not just local media. You get dudes from all over the place. Like Howie was fielding questions from like the Georgia reporters about, players that they drafted because they're doing an article on Kirby Smart, and they were getting questions about Shane Steichen and like how he did in his first. So yeah, we got what we got. But a few things that stuck out to me. Howie was very clear for the second time now, taking ownership for a bad off season last year. And that he didn't, bring the necessary talent on board to get the job done. And I appreciated that. They did ask if Vic Fangio was, going to get a little more say in the defense, and he jokingly said, "Oh, he think that." But I do believe he will. I don't, how he seemed very during this press conference, far more relaxed than he did about a month ago.
Yeah.
And was very clear in they're going to be aggressive, both in the draft and in free agency. And I think when Howie's aggressive, that's a good thing. I also think when Howie is smart and makes calculated decisions, that's a good thing. We got on him for some of his signings this year, right? Like, oh, well, this guy didn't work out. That guy didn't work out. Like, we got into a lot of, we got in on him.
Mm-hmm.
But he's also been a guy who has hit far more than he's missed in free agents, especially with long-term deals. It's very rare where, I look at a long-term deal that Howie signed that has fallen on his face. He's missed on guys like where he hasn't gotten them in free agency, but always pivoted.
Yeah.
And was successful. There was a year where I think they were after, I forget if it was a safety or a corner, and he missed, I think, a corner. I believe it was Byron Johnson, if I'm not mistaken. They really want, or Byron Jones. Sorry, they really wanted Byron Jones. He ended up signing in Miami. And what does Howie do? He takes that money, signs Javon Hargrave to a huge deal, and trades for Darius Slay. That worked out.
Yep.
Those two moves worked out. And a lot of times his last minute, like 1 year deal veteran things pan out. This year they didn't.
Yeah.
They did not work out the way that they have in other years. Like, think about the Super Bowl year. Nigel Bradham was on a 1 year deal. Patrick, it was a corner. I'm drawing a blank on his name. It's going to drive me nuts.
Man.
He was a corner on that roster, but he was a 1 year deal. Worked out. LeGarrette Blount, 1-year deal, worked out. Chris Long, 1-year deal, worked out. Like all these guys, he hit on all of them in two. Patrick Robinson.
Robinson. Oh, I just looked it up. Good job.
That's the guy I was thinking of. But all those dudes were 1-year deals that worked out. This year, his 1-year deals didn't work out. And that happens from time to time, you know? Last year, the ones that he brought in were great, especially the ones that brought in mid-year. You know, they brought Bradbury over on a 1-year deal. He was awesome last year. Then they extended him and he wasn't good this year. Maybe it's the every other year thing and he's good again this year. Because Howie did say he's part of the plan.
Can we cut him, please?
Post June 1, you can.
Okay.
But we're going to see what happens. If they sign a corner, okay. If they draft a corner, maybe. I'd anticipate one of their first 3 picks being corner this year. And they'll probably take one a little later in the draft too. One other thing that he said that I liked a lot was that he and Sirianni sat down and he basically said, it's time to play these younger kids earlier. Like, we got to start playing them earlier. We've got big contracts coming, and it's time to start playing these kids. And then Nick, you know, when he was asked about it, it was almost like either, and this is the thing about Nick, I don't know that he either, one, he doesn't listen during the conversation. Like, he's thinking about something totally different.
Mm-hmm.
Or 2, he just doesn't take anything away from it. He's like the kid that you talk to a million times.
Yeah.
And he can repeat all of it back to you.
Right.
But he doesn't follow through.
Nothing changes, yeah.
Because his answer was, I owe it to our organization, our players, and the fans to play whoever gives us the best chance to win. Well, the Chiefs didn't do that when they drafted all these kids. They played them and let them struggle. And look what happened this year at defense. They were freaking fantastic. So sometimes it's okay to let them just play through the growing pains. Like, let Keely Ringo just play. You know? I know you tried to do it with Nakobe Dean this year. It didn't work. I know Cam Jurgens is playing, but he's not playing center right now. I don't know if he's going to. But at some point, right? Some other things with Nick. It seems very much like Nick is set on the fact that last year was just the defense and the offense doesn't have to change. That's the feeling I get from Nick right now. And when I really got that feeling was when they asked him about what he appreciates about Kellen. His answer started great, man. Like, his answer was like, oh, he's been successful wherever he's been as a player, coach. And because they asked him about the coaches and how they let him bring some, but they kept a lot. And he said, well, it's the marriage of 2 offenses. Nick, I thought, like, we cleared this up. Your offense is no longer in play. Kellen Moore is here to run Kellen Moore's. Can we not do this right now? Can we not?
Yeah. This is the topic of a lot of like podcasts and things that I've listened to. And the best thing I've heard from multiple places, but is that after season press conference, like, they might have taken it too far in the whole like neutered Nick, you know, narrative. And everyone is asking, well, what's your job here now? Like, what do you do here now? And they're like, look, we brought this guy back. We got to let it, like, we can't let him think this. Like, he still has to do certain things for us.
More of a PR move than anything.
And so they let him, like, they went kind of the other way this time. Again, I don't know if this is Nick or if it's Howie and, you know, Lori influencing Nick. Like, I don't know. We don't know. But they might have just let him try and save some face here.
Yeah.
On how he's going to be involved.
I didn't think about that. Okay. That's fair. It was just really bad.
For the record, I'm with you. Like, please step away and just do everything else. Set the schedules, sit in the meetings, make sure all the players are happy. Like, take care of everything else. Don't do this. Like, just don't do this part.
Yeah.
Just don't do it.
I think, Regz, the other thing is when, you know, their report card was released. The player report card was released. And, you know, you and I basically were simultaneously texting it to one another. And he received an A.
Yeah.
I heard someone say, or I read it somewhere, like, we don't know how they grade this. Is it the coach or the person? Well, I think probably the same, right? Like, when you rate your supervisor, you're rating them one and the same. Like, are they a good human and are they good at their job? Right? Like,
Yeah.
you think I'm correct in assuming that? Or are they just, the players are all like, oh, we like him, we're going to give.
What I was hearing from those same podcasts was like, this was more they didn't ask how good is your coach at running an offense. It was just, do you like the coach? So that's what from their research, or however they know this survey to run, that's how it goes.
Okay.
Again, that's not every source possible, so who knows? Maybe some players interpret it one way, some interpret it a different way. Who knows? But
well, I think even with that said, no one doesn't like the guy.
yes, exactly.
Or no one dislikes the guy, I should say. Like, he's well liked in that locker room,
Right.
which,
or there's certainly a much larger majority of people who like him than
Correct.
dislike him.
Correct. And the things that were rated low, like treatment of family and travel, can be fixed.
Right.
Lori can fix that.
Yeah.
Those are, getting tickets to games for the family side of things, like maybe food in the boxes if they have boxes. Like, the travel is probably about the space in the between seats. Like,
Someone said that
that
they
sort
went
of
to
thing.
2 airplanes this year in order to give
Did they?
players more room.
Interesting. I wonder if the players didn't like that,
I don't know.
because that was their like second lowest. Those
Yeah.
were their two lowest.
Yeah.
But at the end of the day, they finished fourth out of
Yep.
32 teams. It's pretty darn good, Regz.
Well, yeah, absolutely.
It's pretty darn good. I mean, the Chiefs, who won the freaking Super Bowl,
Yeah, we're like
had some pretty brutal scores
Yeah.
in there.
I think Elliot and James were talking about this on Go Birds. They were like, some team like didn't feed players 3 meals a day. Like, they
Yeah.
only had 1 meal. And like,
Yeah.
and they're like, when you walked into the Eagles, like, there's food all the time. There's like, you could never get away from it.
Yeah, they a couple of guys that I listened to inside the Birds were saying, like, the food is unbelievable in that Eagles locker room, in that Eagles kitchen. So, and look, obviously this doesn't, just automatically mean you're going to be successful. But
Yeah,
I
sure.
think Jeffrey Lurie has done a really good job of treating his coaches and players well. And they've
Yeah.
had sustained success. Like, yeah, they have won Super Bowl, but they're always, not always, but most years competitive.
Yeah, Elliot put it really well. He's like, we can forget that the NFL is also a workplace.
Yeah.
And like, the Eagles have done a really good job of creating a great place to work. Like, I thought it was just put very plainly and like in a way that all of us could understand. Like, they've spent time and effort to making it a good place to work.
It's one of the things that Lurie is constantly praised for.
Yeah.
Like, he's one of the owners in football that players, past and present, have nothing but positive things to say about. And, I feel like that does get lost sometimes. People tend to lean towards, oh, he's heavy-handed in the organization, too much. Well, I don't think he's anywhere near as involved as the guy that, we all dislike down in Dallas.
I was about to say, the guy who just won a Super Bowl was like the 31st like lowest rated owner in the NFL.
Yeah, which is hilarious because, yeah,
That guy just looks like a douchebag.
Yeah, but I've read such good things about him.
Have
I'm
you?
not sure
Well,
what
there you go.
That's interesting. But anyway, one last thing about Nick that made me laugh. It's all right. So they asked him about Jalen's leadership and if Jalen needs to like change his leadership. And I immediately started dying laughing because he the thing about Nick Regz, hold on, let me give his answer, and then I'm going to tell you. There are a lot of things that drive me nuts about Nick, but there's one that just every time I listen to him, it happens. But his answer for this was, there's no book written on leadership. And I'm running and I immediately had to stop to laugh because I'm like, Nick, there are millions of
I
books.
was about to say, might be one of the most written about things ever.
That is if more belabored
Yeah.
than leadership books. I don't know what it is. Now, look, yes, for those of you yelling at your speaker or TV right now, I know what he was trying to say.
Right.
There's no one way to lead.
Yeah.
But this is why Nick struggles. Because there are so many times, Riggs, where someone will ask Nick a question and he will answer that question. And I'll be like, that was a really good answer. And then he keeps talking.
Going. Yeah.
He keeps talking. His answer, the first sentence or two sentences was perfect. But then he keeps going. And it's almost like that episode of The Office where Michael Scott is saying, sometimes I talk and I don't know where it's going. So I keep talking until I find it. And I think that's what Nick does.
Yeah.
And I'm going to tell you why I think that is. Because I don't think Nick ever wants to come off short or like he's not giving somebody enough time. And I think it comes from a good place.
Yeah.
But it makes him sound inept at times.
Right.
Because he could truly give his point in 1 to 3 sentences and sound perfectly smart. But he doesn't do that. We've had plenty of coaches who have done that who are still loved in this city.
Yeah.
One of them's across the street. Rob Thompson gives very short, intelligent answers.
Yep.
But he's still loved because, like, he's got the personality. I think Nick has the personality to still be loved.
Yeah.
He just needs to cut himself.
Yeah.
That's it.
Maybe that's one of the things. Media training is one of his classes this offseason.
God, I hope so. All right. You ready to talk about the mailbag?
Yes, please.
All right. Well, I got to tell you, man, this was a lot of fun. I'm going to grab my notes over here that I didn't bring over to the table. So while I do that, why don't you set everybody up for what we're going to do here? And then we'll get started.
Yeah. So as he put out a post on the Phixated fan page on Facebook, go join it if you haven't already, to just kind of ask everyone who's a fan over there, give us some Phillies questions. Doesn't matter about what, doesn't matter who, send us your questions. And as usual, when we put out polls or questions or things like that, the people responded. We enjoy doing this part. We enjoy this, plus every so often we'll do, a viewer show where we get people to join the call with us and talk through their questions about whatever sports are going on. So this is always a fun time for us.
Yeah, one of my very favorite episodes is, doing this. And look, I love doing the stuff where we make our own and, have our own conversations, things like that. But I think fan engagement listener engagement is very important. So I'm happy that we're doing this. I'm happy that we're having this conversation. So let's dive in. Let's start. So I'll read the name and the message, and then I'll give you a shot to answer. I'll come back and give my answer, and we'll move to the next one.
Let's do it.
First one is from Joe Hauk. Hi guys, big fan. Was wondering your predictions on any minor leaguers that could break camp and start the year with the big club. Is this Scotty Jetpax's year? Alluding to the great Scott.
He had another home run today.
Yeah, I saw it. So, Regz, what do you think? Any minor leaguers?
I don't listen. I'm gonna very quickly defer this because you know way more minor league names than I do. I'm just gonna answer the second part. No, Scotty Jetpax does not break camp with the Phillies.
All right. Well, then I'm gonna agree with you on that part. Could any minor leaguers break camp? It's hard this year, Regz, because there's just not a lot of room on the right. Like, if anywhere there's gonna be a guy, it's a guy like McGarry with bullpen, but I really don't think to do that yet. I think the guys that you are looking at that can, come up and give you some efforts during the year are guys like Abel and McGarry, because you do have to dig into your pitching depth. Aside from that though, like, obviously we're getting Rojas. Will Kingery need to come up and give them a game or two? Maybe. I think you're getting more of the same this year in terms of minor leaguers. They're a veteran team. They're built as a veteran team. The minor leaguers that you're see are going to be the Cody Clemenses of the world. You're going to get possibly McGarry. The way Spencer Turnbull pitched today, he's probably, in the conversation. But no, I think their major talent in the minors is a little further away.
Yeah.
And guys like Painter, McGarry, and Abel are that next wave, but I don't think there's gonna maybe a catcher if they have to dig into that at some point, but no, I don't. No one's breaking camp.
Yeah.
From that perspective. So, but we appreciate the question, Joe.
Yeah. Thank you, Joe.
And not Scotty's ear. Definitely not Scotty's ear. Roger chimes in. Great show. Would love your prediction on opening day rotation and end of the year rotation. Will it change? How much and who? So, Regz, I'll let you start here and then I'll jump in.
Yeah, opening day is pretty easy. Wheeler, Nola, Ranger, Walker, Sanchez are the 5, right?
Mm-hmm.
Do I need to name a 6? Does that matter?
No, you don't have to name it. You don't have to name a 6.
I think it's the 5 everyone's, anticipating.
Right.
At the end of the year, the only thing I can really think of, the thing with Sanchez is, if you do bring up an Abel, it's like you're down to one lefty. And depending on when in the year you are, like, I feel like you'd always like to have more than one. And I just feel like it's important to have that, like, just to mix it up a little bit, like, so you're just not so predictable from a starter standpoint. If Abel needs to come up and, like, if Turnbull's having trouble and, like, you try him as, like, the long man, or like you're splitting starts some places because Sanchez maybe hasn't been doing great. So maybe you're going like 3-3 and you're just seeing if he can get through the lineup one time. Like, okay, I don't anticipate outside of injuries the rotation being much different at the end of the year, quite honestly. I don't even know if they could possibly, if it would be worth it. It'd have to be some crazy kind of trade to try and get rid of Ty's contract, right? They'd have to be getting something crazy back. Like, that would be some kind of trade to put Walker into it, wouldn't it? Like, don't you have to match? Do you have to match salaries in the MLB, like the NBA?
Not really.
Okay, so who knows then? Maybe that's something that happens, but that would be surprising, I think, to me right now.
Yeah, I will say this. I'm interested because Ty didn't get in until this week. He had some personal issues, and now he's got some general knee soreness. So I'll be curious to see, if he's ready to start the year. If he's not, they might be able to get through the first turn of the rotation, without needing a fifth starter, just because of off days and things like that, early in the year. Look, like you said, barring injuries, I think this is pretty much what you're going to see all season. Could they experiment a little bit?
Yeah,
with a 6-man,
right.
Absolutely.
Sure.
If Turnbull is killing it somewhere, look, he's definitely going to be There's no doubt about that. But if someone's struggling and they want to take a look, yeah, certainly they can do that. I think, from a lefty standpoint, they do have Kobe Allard in the system now, but they're going to go with the best possible thing. They've had years where they've had years where they've had no lefties floating around the rotation. So it's really just going to depend on injury health and who's pitching well, because at the end of the day, you just need to put a guy on the mound that's your best. Look, I'll be fun and bold here. It's going to be different at the end of the year. It's going to be different. I'm going to say that Spencer Turnbull works his way into the rotation. They unload Walker to bring them something at the deadline.
All right. All right.
I'll do that.
There you go.
All right. Next question is from Matt Kafkak. Do you think they should have addressed the closer position this offseason, and who get those 3 key outs to close the games this season?
I never bought into that they needed to go get someone. I think if one of the big names had been available, like a Bednar, or I don't know, name a couple outside of Hader, because that contract was ridiculous. But let's just say if someone else had maybe been available, like, sure, would I have been upset if they had gone and gotten somebody to do it? No. The only thing with the bullpen is they just need guys who can have the other innings. They have the arms for guys who can pitch in the 9th. Like, they have them. Alvarado, Sir Anthony, like even Soto, Strahm pitched the 9th inning when they clinched against the Braves. Like, all these things, all these guys are capable of doing it. They need guys to, like, look, Kimbrel pitched a good amount of innings for them. And they just need guys will take over the 9th, 8th, and 9th inning. They need to get all the other innings that those guys would have pitched last year. So we don't know exactly who that is yet. But we have some ideas. But I'm not upset that they didn't address it. I think they have plenty of talent here to get the proper matchup for the 9th inning, where, whoever that might be. Hoffman, I forgot to mention also.
I was going to come in with him, but
Thank
you're
you.
good. Yeah, Regz, look, if you listen to the show, if you were a fan of this show, you know as well as anybody, I don't think the closer role is a thing.
Yeah.
It is because of the save stat thing, right? There are very few who have been, dominant for prolonged periods of time. The bullpen is pretty much a year-to-year thing, right? Like Mariano Rivera, great. One of the greatest pitchers ever.
Yeah.
Dennis Eckersley, right? Hoffman,
Smoltz.
Wagner, Smoltz. Yeah, there have been a lot of
the
them.
list goes on.
List goes on. But the Phillies have not really had one since like Lidge.
Yeah.
Like,
yeah.
They've toyed with guys and they've called them their closers, but I think when you look at this roster, the way it's built, the arms on it, and the way that he manages the pen, they don't really have a guy that, Kimbrel did it for a bulk of the season. I think they were in on guys. We've talked about this. I think some of the guys they were in on just wanted to play a little closer to where they live, have family. I think this is more likely to be the place where they add, where it looks different come mid-season. I think this is where they find somebody.
Yeah.
But to me, the guy who's going to take down the 9th this year, let me get a little bolder early here, because I've already got bold once with the Spencer Turnbull thing. Gregory Soto. I think he's going to be the guy. They've talked about him quite a bit this this spring already, and how, he's a guy that close at 35, 36 saves, right? It's not something the team's concerned with. It's really not something that I'm all
Yeah.
that concerned with.
I think the other key that you brought up very well was that that's just not how Thompson manages.
Yeah.
It's not how he handles the bullpen.
No.
And I think they've built up enough talent to finally be able to do it properly.
Mhm.
Like if Alex just came out with a good article on Sir Anthony that I literally just read. If Hoffman, who looks like he's pitching well again, can continue to pitch well, with, like you said, with Soto and Alvarado, again, we've seen Strom do it. Like, all these guys are capable. None of them are incapable of coming in the ninth inning, matchup dependent, to get the job done.
Yeah. It's, to me, the object of the game is to get outs, right?
Right.
So if I'm facing, Acuna, Albies, and Olsen, or Acuna, Riley, and in the seventh inning, I'm going to Alvarado there.
Yeah.
Every time.
Right.
If that's who I'm facing in the seventh inning, I'm getting those 3 outs right there. Those are your biggest 3 outs of the baseball game, right there. Because your other guys can get the other outs.
Right.
But I'm putting my best dude against their best dudes.
The only thing,
that sort of a spot.
The only thing I'd like to see is I'd like for Thompson to wait to deploy those guys at the absolute earliest, the 7th.
Oh yeah, in the postseason, he's going to empty the chamber. In the regular, that's not how he's going to.
Even in the postseason, though, obviously this is very dependent on the score of the game. But we saw what happened last postseason. We ran out of guys in some games. I get it. I get it. It was close. I get it. You did it because it was close, and
yeah, it's worked for him more than it hasn't, though.
Yes, but I'm just saying, in some instances, I think you have to let your lesser guys go out there, and if they give up a run or two, you have to do it where your offense has a chance to bring it back. Obviously, it's great if those guys get through it, but if it's still a 1-run game and then you're in the 8th and 9th and you're like, well, we got Spencer Turnbull and Covey coming out of the pen because we used.
Don't you dare talk negatively about Spencer Turnbull.
Listen, I'm sure Spencer will be great, but then you have freaking Covey coming out because you got no arms left. It's well, yeah, I would have rather Covey pitched in the 5th or the 6th when your offense had a chance to do something about it.
Yeah, well, those guys aren't seeing the postseason. Matt, we appreciate the question. We'll see what happens, but I think down the line it'll be very clear that that'll be a place where they'll want to bolster. All right. Can Christopher Sanchez take the next step? That is our next question. That kind of came off of a text message I got from, just put it on the show here. So what do you think? What are your thoughts on Chris Sanchez and taking that next step? I mean, right now he's essentially year 5, but he looked great all of last year, and looks pretty good early in the spring here.
My honest opinion is that I hope that he just stays within himself. I hope that he looks around and understands his role. I'm not saying the guy can't try and be the best pitcher he can be, because I certainly think he will do that. But some of the stuff you've seen, he has pitched well, but some of the stuff you're seeing is that his velocity is upticking a little bit. And when in the articles I've seen is that they got him to throw slower because he couldn't control himself at higher velocities. And that allowed his changeup to have more movement and things like that. I just want him to stay within himself and just build off last year. And again, if he's done something in the offseason and they figure something out where he can throw a little bit faster and not lose the effectiveness of the changeup, of course, improve your craft. You know what I mean? Get better, go nuts. But this is a guy that the next step, I don't know what the next step is for him. Could you be a number 4? Maybe. But he doesn't have the stuff. He's not a 1 or a 2 or even a 3. Like, he's just not. Could he? I don't know. Maybe he's a young enough guy, I think. But I hope he understands his role. I hope he sees that everyone has confidence in him to play that role and play it well. And I just hope that he improves himself to be the best, in the position that he's in, and doesn't try to overdo it, because I feel like that leads to him pitching outside of himself, trying to do things that he's not great at, just to try and like prove something to somebody. Like, dude, we saw it. You pitched awesome last year. You pitched awesome. Like, just keep that going, man.
So I think the next step for him, it's not necessarily where he is in the rotation for me, because I think outside of like the first week, where you slot in the rotation is just sort of where you slot in the rotation. I think, yeah, you can absolutely 2, 3, 4. Like, I think that's fair. When you look at sort of ceilings to floors and things like that. I think for me, it's a full year of what we saw for a half a year last year. For me, the next step is like, if you're going to be a major league contributor, then consistency is the thing that matters. And look, I do think his ceiling is a middle of the rotation, like a low end 2 to a high end 3 type of guy. That only slots in that spot because he's in a really good rotation. And I think, I do think that we're going to see Chris Sanchez take that step to a more consistent 2024. I believe in the stuff. I believe in them adding sort of like a sinkery, cuttery type of pitch to his repertoire. And if he's going to throw 96 with control, I mean, so far he has. Now, he's done it for 2 innings.
Yeah.
Can he do it deep into games?
Yeah, and can he do it with keeping that changeup as effective as he is? Because one of the things I did see was that when he tried to throw harder, the changeup lost some of its juice.
Yeah, and the changeup is his best pitch.
Yes.
So, I look, I think he was such a revelation last year. The next step is just, can he be consistent in what they're asking him to do? I think that's it.
Yeah.
So, I think we're both hoping yes. I do believe that the answer is yes. So we'll see what comes of that. This is a fun one from Adam. Who gets inducted onto the Phillies Wall of Fame this year?
I need to look up a list of it because I don't. I'm
Well,
not gonna lie. I don't know every single person.
Well, you're looking at like one of 3, I believe. I think the 3 biggies are available this year because I think the Phillies wait years.
Okay.
So I'm almost positive it's Jimmy, Chase, and Ryan are all this year.
Oh.
If you find a list,
I have a list. I mean, Burrell's on there.
Okay, so give me the whole list. You got
God, well, it's a long list, but we can do it.
Well, you don't have to give me all of it. Just give me some highlights.
Oh, I'll give you more recent highlights. How about I'll look for the people who are a little closer to like Gavy Kravis. I don't know who that is. Gary Maddox, 2000.
Yeah, these are all guys who are on it, right?
Yep. I'm like Vuk.
Yeah.
Juan Samuel. I'm looking at years they got into it. So like
Juan Samuel is on it. Charlie's on it.
In the last few years, Pat Burrell, Kurt Schilling, Jim Thome, Halliday, Bobby Abreu.
Roland.
Yep, Roland.
Yep. So you're really, I mean, you're looking at these guys from the run at this point. So who would you put on first?
It's Chase probably.
All right. Here's the funny thing. I'm a Jimmy guy. So I'm gonna go Jimmy, but I wouldn't be mad at either Ryan or Chase.
I'm not mad at any of the choices.
No, here's the thing. Jimmy to me is always going to be the run. Always.
Yeah, I have no argument. If you put any of those guys on it, they all will eventually be on it.
For sure.
Whoever you do first, I really don't care. Pick whoever you want.
Yeah, as long as you're not putting Eric Bruntlett up there, I'm
fine. Right.
That's all I care about.
Here you go. Maybe a better question. Just Chooch make the Wall of Fame?
Oh, for sure.
Okay, good. I hope so too.
Sure. Look, I think as I think about that, Chooch is on, Ryan's on, Chase is on, Jimmy, Pat's already there. Shane will get on. Maybe Worth. He's a coin toss. Hamels gets on.
What about Cliff
Myers?
Lee?
No, he shouldn't get on. He shouldn't get on. Myers will get on. Lidge just wasn't here long enough, but neither. I mean, he could argue Doc was. Madsen maybe. Madsen could get on.
Yeah, maybe.
But they're like that group. This is gonna take us another decade to get these guys.
Yeah.
Which leads perfectly into the group that we have
right.
So, that's sort of the way you want it, right? Like to have a little bit of sustained success that gets you to the next group. So, okay. Let's do this one. So let's jump over to a lineup question sent to us anonymously. I'm not a huge fan of this question. Understand very shortly. Will they finally take Kyle Schwarber out of the leadoff? Careful with your answer, Regz.
No, they will not. My answer has been completed, Your Honor.
I love how short and sweet that was. Let me go back to the well. The Phillies, since signing Kyle Schwarber leading off. The Phillies are 132-99. Schwarber not leading off. The Phillies are 45-48. Of course, there's a lot at play there. This is a quote from Ryan Spader. He tends to think it should be Bryce Harper leading off, by the way.
That's absurd.
Just because, and he says it should be this way. The best player should lead off for Judge, Ohtani, Bonds. Because teams, where is it? The leadoff spot will come up 33.9 more times per season than the 3-hole spot, roughly 7.5 more times plate appearances. The Phillies actually saw the leadoff spot come up with runners in scoring position 7 times more than the 3-hole spot last season. That was because Trey Turner never got on base. So, Ryan, I love you. You do post a lot of really, really good things. But that stat is sort of misleading because Trey Turner was so bad last year. So bad.
Yeah.
Kyle Schwarber will be in the leadoff spot until Rob Thompson decides that he's going to manage the way everybody thinks he should manage.
Yeah.
Which, let me clue you in. That's not going to happen, folks. Kyle Schwarber seemingly more comfortable there. The team wins when he's there. So shut up and just stop. I don't know who sent that in.
Glad I got the question right. It wasn't me, for the record.
Gosh. Well, I mean, just end it. End it. All right, we're gonna do the funny one, then we're gonna end with the fire me up.
All right.
Question. This one's from Randy. Randy says, "Would you fight a jacked, shirtless Johan Rojas if he was trying to take your wives? Mike Thomas, you can't have Big Regz step in for you this time. This is strictly 1v1 bar fight." Regz, what'd you do?
I mean, my answer is yes.
Well, yeah.
I think I can take him.
If you're putting my wife in it,
yeah, I think
I'm at least gonna step to him.
Right. I think I can take him.
I don't think I can take him. I think you can take him, but I'm at least gonna step to him, and hold the honor of my.
He's a lot quicker.
Beautiful
He's a
wife.
lot quicker than me. But if I get my paws on him, it might be all over.
My paws, those big bear paws. Look, we love Johan. I don't want him hurt. So
That was another consideration, but like I can't say that because got to defend the honor of the wife.
Well, I mean, he wouldn't have to worry about getting hurt. I'm scrappy, but I'm not gonna do anything. While we're here though, I want to turn his funny question. Is there a world where he doesn't make the opening day roster? With the way Christian Pache is playing, is that a world we could foreseeably have?
I think
from the questions of Azzy.
You have to say yes, I think. Because I
don't know that you can.
It's about the bat. Like that's all we're worried about. And look, so let's say if Rojas is a 10 out of 10 defender, Pache is a 9 to a 9.5. Like
he's between a 9 and 10.
Yeah.
Usually.
So like, but if Pache is proving, I think it comes down to something a little more granular than like just if Pache is getting on base more and things like that. Pache's hitting the ball hard. Like we've seen Rojas hit one ball hard, and a lot of it is still just like the thing just seems to die off his bat. So, like, let's be honest. When we went into this offseason, everyone was saying, even Dave Dombrowski, there's a good chance Johan could be in AAA to just get at bats and, get his feet under him, keep working on the things him and Kevin Long have been talking about. Like, it'd be tough to leave Christian Pache on the bench if he continues to hit like this. Now, look, do we know that's going to happen? Of course not. Christian Pache for his whole life has not been able to hit. Like, it's just, this is why this guy was a top prospect and then literally got traded by the A's or to the A's. You know what I mean? Like, this has been his thing. So he would have to prove it for a decent amount of time. And I'm not sure he's going to get that chance, which might lead to just Rojas being the default. But I don't think you can ignore it. If I'm being honest, I don't think you can ignore it.
Yeah. All right. So a couple of thoughts here. The first being Christian Pache is in a weird spot with him. He has no options.
Yeah.
So they can't send him to the minors. There's the whole, well, they don't have any lefties on the bench if they keep him and not Cave, because they're going to keep Merrifield. They're probably keeping Sosa. So that's a whole nother conversation there too.
Mm-hmm.
Right. I mean, and then there's they might have to trade him.
Yeah.
So looking at Rojas, the bat is the concern, but the bat is the concern at the major league level. He hit in AA. He hit for a couple weeks in AAA. So, I don't think he was in AAA. I'd have to look back, but he wasn't there long if he was. So the question then becomes like, do we send him down and because he has options and, he can swing down there, but he might kill the ball there. That's up here to figure it out because this is where he struggles, right? Like, so I think the answer can go both ways. Like, yeah, they can certainly send him down, but I'm struggling with that as someone who buys into the development process of there comes a time where you can't develop anymore in the minors. Now they'll know better than we will.
Yeah.
If he's fully developed down there, they'll know that. I don't know that.
Right.
What I do know is that he tore the cover off of AA, came up here and was fine during the regular season, and then really struggled in the postseason. So, they'll know whether or not he needs a little AAA time. And if he does, Christian Pache is the right option. Here's the other thing. What starting the year with Pache does is it allows you to say, all right, here's layer one. If he plays well, great. And we get a full year of Johan Rojas to develop. If he doesn't, we can go to Rojas. And that's fine. And that's your second layer.
Mm-hmm.
And if both of them end up being flops, then you move Marshy back to center and Merrifield plays left until the deadline. So you have a couple layers of optionality here. But knowing that the Phillies really want Johan Rojas to be their long-term answer in center field, I just wonder if their course is going to be, we have to give this guy major league at bats so he can figure it out.
Yeah, look, it's a fair point.
But that being said, if Christian Pache is starting in center field and hitting ninth on open day, you won't get a complaint from me.
Right.
We've already seen that he can at least be a capable 230 guy at the major league level. All right, last question. Thanks for the question, Randy. That was funny. Anthony, will they finally take back the NL East crown? Now, Regz, we haven't done our prediction show yet.
We have
that
not.
Is going to be coming. That's going to come coupled with a very special guest. So if you're not ready to give your prediction, I fully understand that.
Yeah, I'm not going to give a record or anything, but I'm at this point in time, I'm going to say no. The Braves are just like, I'm trying to think about who I can compare them to. I don't know. It's just one of those teams who, it's like the Dodgers. Like, it's like they're just regular season behemoths. Like, what they do is ridiculous. The most like first inning runs scored. Like, their pitching is great. Like, all those things. They're just a really good team who doesn't seem to be falling off anywhere. And they're just going to be hard to catch. Like, do I think the Phillies can still beat them in the playoffs and things like that? Yes. Do I think it will be closer than in years past? I do. But right now, I'll say no.
Well, their manager tonight was posted all over the place that he was coming out. Oh, the schedule's not fair.
Of course he was.
You didn't seem to mind it the last 2 years, and now you do. So maybe figure it out. You did your little simulation game and everything. Other teams seem to do okay, but okay. Anyway, here's what I'm going to say for right now.
Okay.
This is all I'm going to say. I hear you on the Braves. But at some point, not every player can have a freaking career.
Listen, that's true.
And I'm gonna leave it there until our prediction podcast.
I like it.
Hey, that was fun. I love that.
That's great.
I love that. I appreciate everybody for questions, all of your questions, all of that stuff.
Yeah, thank you, everyone.
We will set up our show will probably be next weekend because I am in California. So I'm thinking Saturday night, Sunday night, we'll see how I'm feeling when Saturday night rolls around. We'll do our show then, and we'll have a Thursday night the following week. So next weekend will be bold predictions, and then we will have our special guest on shortly thereafter, we hope. I'll go with this for Phixated tonight. Is tomorrow will be the first game I can watch.
Oh.
Because of being on the road. I couldn't watch any games due to flights and being out in Kansas. There were no games available to
I need
me,
to give you my MLB TV password.
Well, yeah, I mean, I appreciate that. But I'm actually, I wasn't mad at it, and I'll tell you why. Because tomorrow is, in fact, my 37th birthday. So, and I'm not a big birthday guy. I've never really been a big birthday guy. You know this about me.
Yes.
So Andrea asked me, like, what do you want to do? And I was like, I want to wake up, go to the gym, go to the grocery store like I usually do on a Saturday, come home, take Maverick for a walk like I usually do on a Saturday morning. And then I want to sit down, pour myself a glass of bourbon, and watch the Phillies for the first time this year. There's honestly no greater birthday gift to me than sitting and watching the Phillies in silence for the first time than on my birthday. That's a pretty perfect birthday, if you ask me. So that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to wake up nice and early. I'm going to go to the gym. I'm going to run over to Giant. I'm going to come home and walk Maverick. I'm going to take a shower. And I'm going to settle in on the couch. And then I'm going to pour a glass of Woodford for the start of the game. And I'm going to sit there and I'm going to watch it. Happy birthday, Mike.
Happy birthday, Mike.
Yep, that's right.
Happy birthday to you, buddy.
Thanks, man. I appreciate it. Another day, another dollar, another year, another holla. We are in it. 37 solid years.
Whew.
Here we go. We are just pushing.
Goodness gracious.
19 years of friendship, buddy.
That's literally what I just thought. I was like, we met when we were 18 years old. And now we've lived that life again since we've known each other.
Yep.
That's insane.
That life plus one.
That's insane.
That life plus one. It's wild.
It's ridiculous.
Good stuff, though.
Oh, man.
Anyhow, we appreciate you all listening to us, as always. Like I said, we'll be back next weekend with a bold prediction episode. Regz, I want a few from you.
Yeah,
I know
I'll have some.
I know you like making fun of mine.
No,
but
I'll have some. I'll have some.
I feel like a solid handful from you would be a good time.
You got it.
We can play around with this a little bit.
Done.
All right, and then I have a couple of other ideas for games. But until then, be good to yourselves, be good to others. We are so appreciative of each and every one of you. We love you. Until next week. You know, I don't know if they have anything. Go Phils.
Happy birthday, Azzy.
Oh my God! Deep to right field, way up there, and way out of here!
The Philadelphia Eagles are Super Bowl champions. Eagles fans everywhere, this is for you.
The 0-2 pitch, swing and a miss, struck him out. The Philadelphia Phillies are 2008 World Champions of Baseball.